before we cover JCMS, I think it's important to understand the origins. So we'll first cover AFCS with emphasis then on the JCMS software. We're going to then review the JCMS 5.0 prototype video that shows our future capabilities. And then we're going to conduct, hopefully, a demonstration of the power of JCMS, and I'll share my screen on that. And then we'll open it up for questions. And I don't know if anyone has used JCMS in the past. This is typically where during the presentation live at the GIAC course, I open it up to find out if anyone's used JCMS. And there's several people that have, and typically I get the response that it was okay. And that's fine because over the course of the presentation here, I'll show you kind of some of the improvements that we've made to JCMS over the last 5-6 years. That if you use JCMS in the past and haven't used it in a while, it's a much better tool for the engineer warfighter. So what is AFCS? So AFCS is an Army program that provides readily accessible, current, standardized, adaptable, and scalable base camp, component, and facility designs. So it enables the Army and Joint Warfighter with a common contingency basing construction database that governs planning, design, construction, and maintenance of contingency facilities and excuse me, and infrastructures. So AFCS we are the organization, we are the people and processes behind the JCMS software. So think of AFCS as the program and the people and the processes, and then JCMS is actually the software that you will see. So we provide over 750 individual standardized UFC, life, health, safety, and doctrinally compliant initial and temporary facility designs available to the warfighter in a joint, networked, and limited communications environment. So we also provide 80 component designs, which are kind of clusters of several facilities with appropriate functional and spatial layouts to support outposts, base camps, RSOI, and logistics operations. We also manage nearly about 5,000 NSNs, and an individual AFCS, if you're using our design facility, can save the warfighter anywhere between 40 and 150 hours on actually manpower design and estimating and scheduling and ordering time. And we did do a study in compounding that savings for a brigade combat team developing a base camp. It saves over 5,000 engineer Army hours, or engineer hours, I should say, not just in Army, but joint, on design. So about 2.5 man hours, 2.5 man years for a base camp. So AFCS was born out of a need to improve the contingency construction planning and support system. Particularly, there was a need for standardization. And the program actually has been around since the early 1950s. And so we went from the pen and paper to the big IBM mainframes to now you can actually have it on your desktop computer. So not only are we the program and the people and processes, but we're kind of the repository of excuse me, of the system. So think of it as the big library. You have a big library of data, and we maintain that, and then we push it forward to our software, to the user interface. So while we are the program, JCMS is actually the standalone software where you can access all of that AFCS repository. Then it allows you to create that true buildable contingency construction projects. So JCMS is the latest tool, software that allows you to access those designs. So what we like to think of it as a kind of a configurator. So if you've been downrange, you came back home, you've got money burning in your pocket, and you're thinking, boy, I need to get that new Ford Explorer. You go on Ford's website, you get that XLT version with the leather and maybe the souped up stereo system. So you configure it however you want to configure your Explorer there. Excuse me. You choose your mid-tier, you choose your options. And then the dealer says, oh, hey, this is what it's going to cost, and this is when it's going to build time, and you can pick it up in 30 days. Well, JCMS is kind of like that. You can build your project in any form that you want to build it. So it allows you to configure your base camp to what your needs are. So think of that as the analogy is that the JCMS software is kind of like that configurator. It allows you to build your project, whether you just need one facility or 3 facilities, or you want to build an entire base camp. So with our software, you can build it in any way that you need based on your requirements. Oh, well, I went too far. So one of the objectives is AFCS. So it assists military engineer planners in the joint operations area to identify standardized, austere facility requirements supporting bed down and mission needs. So there are construction options, so phases, variety of building systems such as tents, wood, metal, and CMU. We also allow those facilities to be built in a contingency standard for expeditionary, initial, and temporary. There are some semi-permanent, but that's not really our role. Our role is more of the expeditionary, initial, and temporary. We also allow for various climates and geographical locations. In the system, there are hierarchical levels, so you could have a super component that goes down to a component that goes down to a facility layout. So that's how JCMS is built. They're built on top of each other. And then you can use different materials, so you have be it the BOM, the bill of materials, national stock numbers, and each facility design is designed to meet doctrine, operational requirements, and any applicable building criteria such as the UFCs. I just lost the connection. You guys still hear me over? Okay. So speaking of doctrine, here's our doctrinal alignment. The Secretary of the Army charges the Chief of Engineers with developing the engineering and facilities portion of contingency plans and operations. So to meet that mandate, the Chief of Engineers uses the contingency unified facility criteria, the UFCs, the doctrinal construction standards, and then AR 415-16 to guide the AFCS. So we are governed by Army Regulation AR 415-16, but we also support other regulations such as the Joint Pub 3-34, the Joint Engineering Operations, and Army Regulation 700-147 that kind of governs the planning, the design, the construction, and operating, managing, and transitioning of contingency bases. So in 2018, we began an initiative to support and adhere to the Base Camp Army Technical Publication, which you see there on the screen. I think it just came up, ATP 3-37, which is a joint pub with Marine Corps, which discusses the new concept for base camps and how they should be laid out. So, in fact, our design agents from Kansas City, they've hosted several charrettes to discuss what needs to go into each echelon of base camps. And we're in the process of committing those into the JCMS format for future updates. So there are various applications for JCMS. Some engineers will use JCMS to assist in developing a base camp. Others will use JCMS just to provide their commanders with maybe cost estimating. Hey, sir, if you want this facility, it's going to cost X, and it's going to take Y time to build out. So JCMS allows you to produce Microsoft-based schedules, so you can set construction schedule with man hours that are generated by the system. It also allows you to build a construction project by assembling the single structures or collection of structures and work activities. Each structure is related to construction activity that has associated drawings and BOM and the TOGs, which are theater-oriented guide specifications, and any supporting files that might go along with that. So, in essence, the software allows you to take that data and build your own base camp or your own solution, and then you can add to that your locally procured items. So you can tell the system, hey, I'm in this environment, I'm over in Kuwait or I'm in Iraq, and this is what the gravel is going for let's say $10 a yard. So you put that in, and you can fill in those items that are locally procured, like gravel and sand, and consolidate that into your project. Excuse me. And as you see there, at the bottom there, master planning, which is providing military senior leaders and staff a basis for large-scale base camp. And what you're going to see later on, hopefully if it pulls up, is a video identifying our new JCMS 5.0, which will come out in FY22. And it's going to integrate JCMS with site selection and our master planning capability tools. So hopefully you'll see that in the next in the video in a few minutes. So I know that as part of this course, you guys touch on the USACE Red-Eye portal. So this is kind of our knowledge management center. We think of it as our OneDrive or our kind of Google Drive. So we keep all of our documents here, all of our program documents there, and external facing things. AFCS and the joint services, we train approximately 3,000 students annually, and as part of that, UROC helps us with that as part of that distribution network, and we distribute over 7,000 DVDs of software and data for the JCMS. And it's actually, AFCS is the most used web service portal on the Red-Eye, and I think it gets about, latest count was about 12,000 hits every single year. And we get about 5,000 new users every year. And so the Reachback Operations Center, they field all of our requests for information. They request software and training. So if you ever need training on the JCMS software, you can go to the UROC portal and request that training. And then speaking of the training right now, we offer it right now is all virtual, although we are moving back into a travel environment, if you will, at physical locations, depending on the location and depending on the COVID requirements. So we kind of transitioned from all of our training done mostly face-to-face to now a virtual environment. And that training is offered at no cost to the unit. So if your unit needs JCMS training, we have 2 instructors that can train your units. And again, they can do a virtual one right now, or depending on COVID restrictions and requirements, they can come to your location based on your requirements. You can also get all the JCMS View. So JCMS View is hosted within our Reachback. It was hosted, but now it's on our own jcms.army.mil. So JCMS View is our online access to the software. So if you don't have the software loaded on your computer, you can go to jcms.army.mil, and all you need is a CAC. You do not need to be networked into an Army network or a Navy network or anything like that to access the portal. Now, what I will say on that note is you can't build a project on JCMS View. You can look at facilities, and you can look at NSNs, and you can look at different base camp solutions, and all the files that go along with it, but you can't build a project. And what you'll see on the desktop version, which I'll show you guys after the video, is that you can build projects and put them in there and save them. So when you go on JCMS View, it's a great tool that if you don't have the desktop version, that you can access all the information on there, but you just can't build a project on there. So, excuse me, as part of this course and discussion, this is kind of where I bring up our joint chops here. So although we are a Army heavy program, and we are running out of the Army Corps of Engineers, we do partner with our sister services. And for instance, the Navy is a design agent right now, and they help correct any of the data that's in our software. They also put new designs in there into our system. And in fact, the Navy has been using UROC for exclusive reachback support. And we are a repository for ABFC, the Advanced Base Functional Component Facility for the Navy. And the Navy also commits funds to our program to help support IT and IA for the software utilities. The Air Force, the AFCAC, is committed to not only providing us with Air Force-specific facilities, but they are training JCMS in their curriculum at Silver Flag contingency sites, and then their Air Force Institute of Technology, as Major Lance can attest to. And then AFCAC now is also going to start integrating some designs. They're going to be a design agent for us. And so we have a test set of 10 facilities that they're going to start inputting. And in fact, this week they were training up on, last week they were training up on our design management system, which is the back end of the JCMS. So all the data goes into the DMS, and then it's pushed out to the JCMS as the user interface that we see as users. Now, a few years ago, the Marines were training JCMS as part of their OFAC course, but the last couple of years, I think they had some, budget restrictions. So they went from I think a 2-week course to a 1-week course, and so JCMS was kind of cut from that. But we are still working with them and partnering with them, and we hope to get JCMS back into their course as they need it, and hopefully to support their efforts there.
Quick question while you have a pause. Not sure if you already addressed it. If not, you've got a question from Lieutenant Colonel Troy Foreman. Is the training available on the weekend for Guard units?
Yes, training is available on the weekends. We just need to coordinate it. And so our trainers train 7 days a week. They're flexible on the weekends. As well as, for example, we trained ARCENT over 9 days, when we did half days. So over a 9-day period for ARCENT, because of their battle rhythm and their schedule, we could only do it training on half days. That was JCMS, the prototype, and also Base Camp Master Planning course. So we integrated those two courses for ARCENT and did it over 9 days. So we're pretty flexible on being able to provide training to our students. So we'll just work with you on whatever times you guys need, and we'll find some time to work to make that work. Yes. So, did I answer your question, sir? Yeah. You know what? I'll answer another question. There's another question: is construction based on troop or contract labor? So construction is based on troop labor. However, it is designed that if you need to use contract labor, you can get all the files from JCMS, give it to your contractor, and they can use that as their baseline to get started on the construction. Okay, good, sir. I answered your question. As I mentioned earlier about using JCMS and users that have used JCMS in the past, we have gone over the course of the last few years, really honing in on the software and honing in on the tool that we provide to the warfighter. Whenever you're dealing with a software program, one of the biggest hurdles is managing the quality and completeness of the data. So for a while there, we weren't managing it very well. We were kind of setting that warfighter up for failure because, when a building should cost, a couple $100,000 and they would see the building cost $2 million, that obviously wasn't right. And I can talk on personal experience, because a few years ago when I was downrange, we were using JCMS. I think at the time it was TCMS, the Theater Construction Management System. And we would put our designs out there and we would have to validate and go line by line on the cost of the material to make sure it was it lined up with what we thought it should line up with. So there were a lot of problems in the past with the data, and it was extremely outdated. So we were losing a lot of credibility with users and commanders of the system. And so we have made tremendous strides in the last few years to fix that, and really deliver a tool for the warfighter that they can have confidence using. In 2013, we kind of shifted to a prioritized engineer-centric focused, resulting in some really good accomplishments. Invested millions of dollars to get the design and data updated. We established a 20% life cycle review process. So every year we review 20% of all the facilities that are in there to make sure that the pricing is still updated and correct, to make sure that we didn't miss anything early on in the design, and to make sure that that facility is still part of what is required with the commanders. We've also established a vetting process with our proponent centers of excellence, and then we've corrected over the last 2-3 years over 600 facilities, and in some cases we completely overhauled the design. So as a result of all this work on the improvements of the design, improvements of the data, we feel pretty confident that what you guys get as a user, you can feel confident in that it's going to be correct, and you can go out there and use that and build those facilities. So some fun facts real quick. In 2015, a BHUT that we designed and assessed showed that there had been a previous 24% increase in materials and labor. So by focusing on true contingency construction standards and critical reevaluation that we did on our own and redesign efforts, we were able to save millions of dollars on actually getting the design right and having those pricings right, and focusing completely on contingency-centric designs. And then we also were able to cut and reduce the average facility cost from about $472,000 to about $390,000. So I think that reduced it by about 20% the cost. And so as a user, a few years ago, you might get a cost estimate of about $500,000 for a facility, and that was off, right? So we were giving you bad data. Now we are within that margin of error, if you will. And then we also provide data updates every 6 months that you can get. So we are continuing to update the data and pushing it out. Now, it will fall behind a little bit of JCMS View. So JCMS View, if you get on there, jcms.view.mil, because that pushes out from DMS, the back end, right to JCMS View, that is always updated. So if you need the latest, if you're looking on your desktop and maybe your desktop software is 4 or 5 months old and you haven't done a new update, you can go to JCMS View to make sure that any pricings didn't change. So that is DMS connects right to JCMS View and gives real-time updates, data updates. Let me answer a few questions here. Is JCMS training on ATAR? Is it an ATARS course or is it just direct coordination with our team? So right now it is just direct coordination with our team. You can go to the UROC portal and request it, or you can send me an email direct. I don't know if my email is on there, but I can share it with the group, or maybe Major Lance can share it with the group. Let me, you know what? Let me put my email on here. There. Okay, so that's my email. If you want to request training, you can send it to me, and I'll help you facilitate and coordinate that. Or you can go right to the UROC portal when you're ready to do that. So we coordinate that on our own because that's our instructors that do the training, our own internal instructors. Does pricing fluctuate with location? So that is a question. So no, so all the pricing is based in the U.S., but it is, if you go to, let's say, Kuwait, you will have to use that locality increase. So I don't know if, that's a great question. I don't remember how that's done, if you have to use your own locality there, but I'll make sure you get an answer. But for instance, when a design agent is validating the material that's in JCMS, so let's say they pull a facility and they say it's a review, a 20% review. So they pull that facility down and they're going to go line by line and check each of those pricing. So for instance, if they see a 2x4, they could go to HomeDepot.com, look up the Home Depot US price, and put that on there. So there is going to be a locality difference in getting that over to, let's say, Kuwait. But it's all US-based pricing. The only thing I think that really changes is the locally procured items. So when you purchase stuff from the US, those materials that are on that design, so the lumber, HVAC, you're procuring it through our system and it goes through DLA, it's going to be U.S. prices. If you say, hey, I'm going to purchase some of these items, I don't want all of the items on here, or I'm going to swap them out because maybe, you can get a quicker item where you are locally, then obviously you'd have to take that out of the pricing in your Microsoft project and put in the new pricing that you're going to procure it over there. So you have the ability to not order everything. You can order locally if you choose to do that. How often are cost estimated update? Again, so that is, so the cyclical review, 20% every year, but also DLA has their own, we manage NSNs, but they also have the ability to manage the NSNs and make sure the pricing are correct. We also ask our users, they have a facility that they're designing, and they notice that a price is way off, that they let us know what that NSN number is. You can send it to UROC and say, hey, I just, this project is busted because this pricing for this refrigerator says it's, $5,000, and I can get it at Home Depot. It says Home Depot for like $1,000. So that would be something that would be extremely off. Now, if it's like 10 to 15% off, that's kind of margin of error where, some prices do fluctuate, bill of materials do fluctuate, obviously, and so it's not going to be updated continuously every single day to match what, let's say, Home Depot or Lowe's or some of your electrical suppliers are supplying the material with. Hopefully that answered your question. So the other question, are those estimates based on location? So all the estimates here are based, CONUS, as I said. So we do all the pricing for CONUS except for those locally procured items. So if you see a facility, and I'll show you later, on there, let's say you're building a barracks building, it says 400,000, that's 400,000 US. So that's, you can get that all from DLA, and then they'll ship that material over to you. Someone said nice. Okay, awesome. All right. Hey, no problem. Hopefully that answered your question. Let me see. Oh, so my next slide was questions. See, oh, we got about 15 minutes. Does anyone else have any questions before we hit this video real quick? Is Builder used in, so Builder being the software that you can use for maintaining the facilities. Is that the Builder you're talking about, sir? It says, is Builder used in joint construction? So no, not right now. So the full life cycle, eventually, when we get to it, is over the next 10 years, would be to integrate the maintenance of them. So right now, all we provide is the site planning, site adapting, master planning, and then the build out. Once that facility is constructed, our I guess mission set, if you will, is complete. But hopefully over the next few years, we're going to evolve into that and integrate Builder or something like that into it, so that kind of we're full life cycle all the way around from beginning and then maintaining and then finally closure. Okay. Yep. Good point, Captain Simeon. Did I pronounce your name right? Hopefully. See, he should be doing this, or she. I don't know. Sorry. I just see Captain Simeon. I don't have anything else. But good comment. Yep. Okay. So let's play this video if Major Lance, if you're good. So this, what you're going to see is kind of the evolution of JCMS from JCMS 4.1, where we are now, to JCMS 5.0, which is going to integrate site selection and master planning. Now, I will tell you in this video, site selection is referred to as Insight, and then master planning is referred to as VFOB. So there's been a name change because we're no longer in development. So that's why we had to go and revise that. But this video was, I think, produced last year. So yes, so it's a little bit of change, but that's what it is.
Okay, here we go.
The Secretary of the Army charges the Chief in HQDA General Order contingency plans and operations. To meet the of engineers uses Contingency Unified Facility Criteria and AR 415-16 provide the Army Facilities Component System, or AFCS enables the Army and the fighter with a common contingency construction database that governs the planning, design, construction, and maintenance of contingency facilities and infrastructure. JP 3-34 shows the major engineer functions that tie to the six-phase Joint Operations Planning construct. Red boxes illustrate functions that FCS and its key component, the Joint Construction Management System, or JCMS, directly support. JCMS is designated as an authoritative source in JOPS, Joint Planning Services, and Force Modeling for total Army analysis. For the next 2 years, 2 ERDIC R&D programs will be to JCMS 5.0 to provide master planning capabilities to address 2 components of the base camp lifecycle. These software programs, called Engineer Site Identification for the Tactical Environment, or ENSITE, and Virtual Forward Operating Base, or VFOB, will help soldiers plan, design, and construct deployed force infrastructure. JCMS has the power of 4 ERDIC labs, the Naval Facilities Engineering Command, Air Force Civil Engineer Center, and Army and Marine Corps Engineer Schools, along with several Army Corps of Engineers districts behind it. Applicable to Homeland Defense, humanitarian assistance, disaster response, and overseas contingency operations, the Joint Services will use this capability to provide safe, secure, and efficiently planned, designed, and constructed contingency infrastructure to project our nation's power wherever needed. The following scenario is an example of how JCMS 5.0 is used throughout the 6 phases of Joint Engineer Operations as described in JP 3-34. A failing nation-state experiences a disastrous tsunami, crippling the already fragile government and preventing foreign aid from reaching inland. Civil unrest breaks out in parts of the country, making distribution of supplies hazardous. As U.S. government and non-government agencies respond with supplies, military planners utilize JCMS to plan the facilities and infrastructure needed to support logistics and security missions. During Phase 0, shaping operations, U.S. government agencies are actively negotiating support with the failing government in order to provide services and restore order. While en route to location, combatant command engineers are validating con plans and developing various COAs for siting contingency bases. The team uses JCMS 5.0's site analysis capability to quickly assess operationally relevant aspects of the natural, built, and socio-cultural environments in the area of interest. EnSite analyzes trafficability, including ports, airfields, slope, terrain, and soil conditions, as well as floodplain data, natural resource availability, line-of-sight security, and environmental and cultural no-build sites for the network of base camps supporting the mission. Using map data and imagery from the site analysis process, the engineer planners begin land use and functional area planning dependent on mission and/or commander's criteria. The software performs analysis based on the geographic combatant command standards, but the engineer planner can override these defaults to meet mission-specific needs. The planner defines the perimeter and selects facilities to meet all mission requirements, including everything from security to life support. The software accounts for space separation, explosive quantity distance arcs, and existing facilities or no-build sites from the geospatial file. Additional analysis modules help the planner assess the suitability of the layout based on protection aspects such as line of sight and perimeter blast resistance. The software produces estimates of logistical requirements as well as contingency-based scorecards comparing COAs. The planner can also run detailed or roll-up reports for individual facilities or the entire camp, showing bills of material and tonnage, labor and equipment estimates, as well as detailed drawings. Finally, the planner can further separate portions of the base camp by construction phase or land use category and builds time-phased construction schedules accordingly. As the Navy and Marine Corps arrive, they utilize geospatial data with the combined tools of EnSite, VFOB, and JCMS to quickly construct an expeditionary base camp to support port opening activities. The Army simultaneously secures an airfield, then works with the Air Force to clear debris and begin repairs for military and commercial air traffic operations. Utilizing the networked plan of base camp support provided from the combatant command, the military projects force forward, providing security for supplies and the region. As near-peer interests escalate, the joint services stand ready to transition into phases 1 to 3 of joint and multi-domain operations. During phases 1 through 3, joint engineer construction units or contractors utilize the master plans saved and shared from JCMS 5.0 to pull the actual drawings and bills of material for construction. These material lists will interface with DLA ordering processes and in many cases can be ordered ahead of true mobilization. In cases of small, specialized base camps, facilities like the Structural Insulated Panel or SIP hut, Containerized Uniform Building Envelope or CUBE, or Modular Protective Structures or MPS can ship with troops and be assembled with minimal engineer effort immediately upon hitting the ground. During phases 4 and 5, engineers use these same tools to support stabilization by assessing and planning restoration of essential services, and to enable civil authority through construction of new facilities and infrastructure. JCMS 5.0 will provide over 750 individual, standardized, UFC and doctrinally compliant initial and temporary facility designs available to the warfighter in both networked and limited communications environments. JCMS provides detailed bills of material, labor, and equipment estimates to support basing, RSOI, and logistics operations. The program manages nearly 5,000 NSNs and over 2,800 construction activities that support these designs. An individual JCMS facility can save the warfighter between 40 and 150 man-hours of design, estimating, scheduling, and ordering time. Through the integration of automated master planning and analysis tools, the Army reduces the time to master plan a Brigade Combat Team, or BCT base, from 450 to 50 man-hours. Compounding facility design savings across a BCT base, the Army saves over 5,000 engineer hours of design, or 2.5 man-years per base. In collaboration with the NFIRE Program of Record, NSITE, VFOB, and JCMS are available as a deployable prototype in FY20. The fully integrated, network-approved capabilities are scheduled for release with JCMS 5.0 in FY22. This hypothetical scenario illustrates the capability of a unified toolset to solve the planning, design, and construction of deployed force infrastructure supporting multi-domain operations. The potential of this engineering capability spans far more than military operations. The analytics can easily be adapted for FEMA, NATO, UN, and USAID humanitarian assistance and disaster relief activities. For all JCMS inquiries, contact the UROC website or help desk.
Okay, thanks, Major Lance. Hopefully you guys got a lot out of that. That is our JCMS 5.0. You know, we are, as I said in the comment section there, we do have prototypes out now for deploying units such as FEST teams and EFDs. Also some brigade engineer units that have gone over and are using the prototype and providing us real-time feedback on the usability and functionality of it. So that prototype will evolve eventually into JCMS 5.0 actual, which will be FY22. So real quickly here, I don't know, I think I can I share my screen, Major Lance, on this program?
Yep. So if you, on the top right of the presentation, and then if you click that drop down on the right, you can do share my screen.
Share my screen. Yep. I'm going to quickly, hopefully, okay, so I think you're seeing my screen now, yes?
Yep, I'm seeing the 590.
Yep. Okay, so quickly, we got 4 minutes, but might go over a few minutes. So here's the JCMS desktop. I've already gone in here. As I mentioned earlier, you can create projects in here. I created one for this course, and I just included, let me drop this down. What do I have in here? So the only thing I have in here right now is a dining facility. Right, I said, okay, you know what? I need a dining facility for my location, or the commander may have asked, hey, what's the dining facility cost, right? So I can just pull this into a project, and I can give the commander a quick rough estimate. Hey, here's the cost of the dining facility, and if he says, oh, you know what? I want something else in there. Again, I'm sorry for the quick demo, but here's kind of our hierarchy. As I mentioned before, there's a super component, there's components, and there's facilities. So quickly, we'll see what a super component consists of. So here are all of our super components. So if you're just looking for you need a 5,000 man base camp, you can use this as your starting point. You can also take this information right here, and you don't have to use everything that's in there, right? You could pull it into, see if I pull it into there. So now I'm going to drop it into my super component folder. Now it's part of my project, but I can also manipulate this and pull out any kind of facility in there that I don't want. So here's a lot of the components. So you've got the ammo storage, you got an airfield, you have entry control points. So I could take anything out that I want. So it's a really good tool because you might not need all that in there. Maybe you already have some stuff. Maybe you're just using it as planning factors. So it's a great tool for the warfighting engineer. Let me go quickly here and show you. Let me just, if I want to do a facility, and I'm going to go to the service. Let's see what we have for Navy. So here are the facilities that we have that are have been designed and put into our JCMS. So these are some of the facilities that are in there now. So if you're looking for Navy specific, this is what we would have for a Navy. Now there's going to be more additions to this as we kind of evolve and go along, but these are some of the facilities that have been designed by their design agents and put it into JCMS for anyone to use and to pull down. Let me now switch real quickly to. I think you can still see my screen, I assume. Here's JCMS. If you go to jcms.army.mil, and you can do this on your computer right now if you're using a computer with a CAC. Again, you don't need to be on any kind of .mil network. You don't have to be networked in. So again, maybe you're in an environment where your commander asks, hey, I want to add a BHUD, or I want to add a gym to our base camp. How much is it going to cost? And you don't have JCMS on your desktop. You can go to jcms.army.mil, and you can there's search functions. So you have the hierarchy. You can also look at all this reference data. You can build reports from facilities. If I do a facility list, it's going to pop up. But this is a really good tool. And as I said before, you can't, the limiting factor is you can't build a project like you can on the desktop version. But these prices and all this data is real-time updates. So we just pushed out a new software updates a month ago. And so we push it out every 6 months. However, if there are pricing changes that happen between now and the next software update that we push out, you will not see that unless you're on JCMS View. But again, over the last few years, we've done tremendous work in Stride to get all the pricing correct and get that data correct. I can't say it's 100% correct because we make errors, but that the latest pricing, latest information is all on JCMS View. So what's my time? Okay, so let me see if there's any other questions. What's up? Yes, so obstacles. Yes, the major lance is correct. We don't have a lot of obstacles in there right now. However, we are working with our sister service in the Marines, and let me see if I can pull us back up. Well, in the other presentation I had, we are working with them to integrate some of the obstacle belts into JCMS, but it's very limited right now. In fact, I don't know if let's see if we can search JCMS and see if we have. It would be considered a facility description. It's probably going to bring up a different obstacle. Yeah, so we have your typical concertina wire as our obstacles right now. So that's what we have right now. But we are working to integrate obstacles in there. I'd remiss if I try to give you a timeline of when that's going to happen. But I know we are actively working towards putting some obstacles in there. Ritual. Okay. That down is okay. Okay, does anyone else have any questions? Does it give me a generator size? Yes, there are generator sizes, and generators are sized for, if you have a base camp of the 5,000, man, it's going to give you the generator size that you need. And with the master planning side that you saw in the video, when you put into your facilities and you build that base camp and you drop in a few facilities, it's going to tell you, hey, you need to size your generator. Here's the size of the generator, and you make sure you put that in there. Otherwise, it's going to give you a red check mark, and you won't get the green until you put that generator set in there. Speaking of generators, did you end up including maps that are in the DOT's inventory? Last look, miss. I don't know. Let's see. Do you want me to look up generators real quick? Not needed. Okay. You can go to JCMS View and look it up, see if there's generators in there. Yeah, so the base camp design is going to be heavy geared towards all the base camp designs that we have in there, as you saw in the super component, is all Army related base camps. But again, so we're limited on the number of facilities that are in there, let's say for Navy that I showed you. So those are the only facilities you could use if you're using the master planning to actually physically build and put that in your CAD drawing. You'll be able to use those facilities that are part of JCMS. Now, not every facility, every component that we have in JCMS has been transcribed into the master plan as you're building your overall master planning base camp. So that's the only facilities that you can use are the ones that are in here, as I showed you the Navy facilities. Hopefully that answers your question. Because if you go to here and you look at your facilities, you drop down to your service. I won't do Army because there's going to be a lot more heavy Army ones. But here are the ones that you could plug in. You could pull this into your active project. So if there was a containerized shower system that was part of your project, but it was a Army delineated one. So you just look over here and here's the service, and you wanted to use the Navy one, you can pull that out of your project in JCMS, the desktop, and pull in and add this containerized shower system into your project. So you can kind of pull out and pull in depending on what your requirements are and what you want to use as a warfighting engineer. So yes, okay, yep. So you answered it. There's an effort to include different service assets. So as I mentioned earlier in the presentation, Navy's put some facilities in there. Air Force, we've got 10 facilities that we're working with now to put into JCMS as a test case. And as we continue to evolve the program and integrate with the services, I think you'll find more and more facilities being integrated into from the Navy, from the Air Force, and hopefully one day from the Marines, what they use into JCMS as a total joint solution. And that's kind of where we're trying to go, right? We do have joint services on our team, and we're trying to go more joint service versus more just Army heavy focused. Over. I took an Empire course, and they focus mainly on route recon. Yeah, so if you took an Empire course, so depending on what you took, did you take the Empire course, or did you take the course in Mobile where you could take the route recon one or the construction one? So it looks like you took the route recon, started for class T. Yeah, so I think Empire teaches some courses. We also teach for the FEST teams. There's two different tracks. There's the recon track and there's the construction track. So there are two different tracks. But 31st Class T, if you need JCMS training on JCMS, let us know and we'll get you the training, because there are two different tracks, route recon and construction, as I said.
All good questions, but I think we need to take our last question and your summary behind timeline over.
Yep. Sorry, sir. Thanks for the time here to go over JCMS and JCMS 5.0. Hopefully, you guys get something out of it. I think the one thing I'll leave you with is if you need JCMS training, please don't hesitate to ask us. We are here to support you, the warfighter, and it is no cost to you, your unit. We take care of everything because we want to make sure you're trained up on JCMS and make sure you get the right training at the right time. So send me an email or go on the UROC Red Eye portal and request training there. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Everybody likes that free chicken, so I'm sure you'll get some good questions.
That's right.
But a good brief.
There you go.
I liked it in person much better, but this was outstanding for the facilities that we have available.
Yep. Thank you, sir.
Let's take a 5